Hello, everyone. Welcome back to All Roads Lead to Archive, Qualstar series about everything data. And with media, entertainment, and broadcast kicking in most of that data as creative content, I'm your host, Jeff Sengpiel. Today, we're talking with Dr. Philip Storey, the CEO of our partner, XenData, about the solutions that started them out, how those are still best in class today, and what new interesting solutions and partnerships they've been engaged in. Philip, thanks for joining me here today. XenData's got a history that goes back almost to the turn of the century. We can say that now. Let's start off with the background of how you folks got your start all those years ago, and a little bit on your own background.
All right. Hi, Jeff. Many thanks for the invitation. Okay, so our CTO, Mark Broadbent, and I were over in the UK in a pub on September the 11th, 2001. And we were talking about, hey, we're done with this dot-com era that was behind us, the craziness. We wanted to just use our expertise and start a company that was like solid products. Doesn't have to be VC, accelerated growth and so on. My wife then called me. She said, a plane's just gone into the towers in New York, and it was kind of, wow, this is unreal. But then when we got to Mark's house and actually saw the video, it was shocking. Anyway, that was the day. We shook hands, and we have kept the company private, which has meant that we've had some real stability. And here we are, over 20 years later. Within about 18 months, we had a product, and we were initially focused on archive markets in general. And our whole approach was we want to use disk and tape and come up with an archive solution. And now we'd already kind of done this before for optical disk. This was the third company that we'd worked together at, and so we kind of knew what we were doing. But from a marketing perspective, we had companies like Daimler Chrysler, as it was at the time, Max Planck Institute in Germany, and so on. And then we had a first installation in a TV station, and we realized that we were such an amazingly good fit. Tape works really well with the large video files that you have in media and entertainment. And so today, all these years later, we've got installations in 97 countries worldwide. About 90% of those are in media and entertainment. So our customers range from TV stations, we have hundreds of TV stations, through to big post-production companies, a couple of Hollywood studios, and then we started to get companies like Home Depot. We started to get the marketing department of large corporations, and that's just continued to grow. So yeah, and here we are, a little bit grayer, a little bit older, but still addressing that same market.
Excellent. And I know corporate's become a very large, up and coming market for a lot of us.
Yeah.
So LTO's been a huge part of the company, providing the media, and then your software and services. Can you tell me about Xen's work with tape and what you think the future is for the medium?
There's the old cliche. I mean, people have been saying for 50 years that tape is dead. Well, it isn't, and for a lot of smaller users, most of our customers are like half a petabyte and above. But for a lot of smaller users like me, personally, cloud is fantastic. If you got a couple of terabytes of video, still fantastic. Now, you're probably, if you're on something like a Glacier archive type tier, you're probably sending your content to tape anyway. But it's hard to beat an on-prem LTO-based system. Now you have to add all the stuff that we add to it to make it work really well. But for all XenData systems, they have got a disk-based tier. And that disk-based tier can be anything from a few terabytes of disk up to a petabyte of disk, which is up about as high as we go. And what that means is that um, you're writing to disk, and if you implement the way we've implemented, when you're restoring, it's just like you're reading from disk. It's just that there's going to be a delay while a tape gets put into a drive and so on. So a typical XenData system is going to be a LTO tape library. We have more Qualstar LTO tape libraries amongst our install base than any other brand, even though we do support the other guys. And there's that disk layer, and the kind of the core product has got a file system interface. It runs on a Windows operating system, usually Windows Server. Today, 2022. We'll add 25 next year. And it's just like writing to disk. You're writing to disk and you're restoring from disk. And so that means that it's easy to integrate this into lots of systems. Having said that, we've also got an API which will go grab content from some other location on the network, move it to the archive and vice versa. And we also have an S3 interface. So if someone wants a private cloud or they've got applications that are writing to S3, then we cope with that as well.
Awesome. I mean, I keep hearing that as well. Isn't tape dead? I don't know. It just changed wardrobe and its name, and it calls itself Glacier. So it's still around. You've got a number of partners in the asset management world now, as well as a whole bunch that I would call the mini-MAM space, which is the part of the tool set that connects on-prem tier 1 and tier 2 storage directly to tape via your tools. And this touches all sections of media, broadcast live,
Yeah.
and in addition to the expected post-production and workflows. And how do you see those partnerships as a future for growing that part of the ecosystem?
So when we started the business back in the early days, we realized the importance. As soon as we kind of decided to focus on media and entertainment, we realized the importance of integrating with the various MAMs that are out there. There are various ways for the integration to occur. It can just be simply writing to the file system that we present, or it can be using the API that moves content from to give it its official name, shared disk storage, i.e. the storage that gets used often for editing and for very fast access. So what a MAM does is it will bring all of those together. It will allow you to search for your content no matter where it is, whether it's on the archive or whether it's on that shared disk storage. And we work with many different media asset management providers. Um, we first of all added support for object storage as a destination. So you can take a I'll give you a story. It's a very well-known TV station based in New York, national TV station, and they first became a XenData customer um, way back over 10 years ago. Um, they were storing everything on LTO, they were replicating and producing two copies, so that was their extra data protection. And then COVID came along. No one wanted to go into the center of New York, into the center of Manhattan. And there was a need for someone to take these tapes out from time to time. So by then we had developed this we call it Cloud File Gateway extension, and basically you add it to your existing LTO system and you have that as an alternate destination. So what they do is they stopped producing the replica tapes and they just their primary archive is LTO. They write to it immediately. They can restore from it with a 1 or 2 minute delay. That all works great. In addition, they put a copy into the cloud, and they can move that to a relatively low cost tier. To be honest, I can't remember whether they're using AWS or Azure, but they move it to a tier that basically isn't immediately accessible, but it gives them that extra copy. So that was object storage at the destination at level. More recently, well, maybe 5 years ago, we added the ability to have an alternate interface to the file system interface. So here you can now write to your archive as though it's S3. So it's turning it into a private cloud. So we have S3 at actually both ends of the system, and it's just one of those requirements. You just need to have it.
Understandable. So, along with those attachments that get into AWS and Azure, part of that ecosystem are the folks who are doing media lifecycle in the cloud. I know you recently announced a partnership with the folks over at Iconic,
Ah,
and you seem to be an excellent bridge for those cloud-centric tool sets to get them to an on-prem archive at the end of the life cycle for the media. How has this evolved both technically and in terms of market demand for this type of migration of completed assets back to on-prem?
so as far as Iconic is concerned, I mean they're basically a media asset management system that runs in the cloud, and for them, like the natural way to go is to use cloud object storage. The problem with that is as soon as you're up at that half petabyte, 1 petabyte level and beyond, it starts becoming super expensive. Exactly. And so this is a large, the first installation for this is a large TV station on the west coast of the States, and they were attracted by having their MAM in the cloud. It basically means it's great for their remote workers, but they didn't want to have to go through the expensive process of migrating their content to the cloud, and then the every year super expensive fees associated with it. Here we have a modular software now that integrates with Iconic and allows the content which is on-prem on LTO tape libraries to be accessed.
Excellent. I mean, and I've seen a lot of the asset managers move to Iconic was really kind of the trailblazer to move to that sort of concept where they're in the cloud and they can look at everything, but there's still lots of stuff in
Yeah,
gatewaying down to on-prem.
yeah, yeah. It's interesting that the cloud is much more prevalent in the US. Than outside of the US. There are so many of our customers who are saying no, absolutely not. But that's just a different story between those two geographies, international versus domestic.
Yeah, I've heard that a lot. That a lot of folks who are in Europe who do have data in hyperscalers are quickly trying to pull that out and put it on-prem in some way, shape,
Yeah,
or form today
uh,
because of concerns about IP and politics and just the simple
exactly.
cost. Yeah.
Exactly. And for us, it's just something that's because we have so many customers that have been with us for more than 10 years. They migrate the hardware, they migrate to later generations of LTO. When you ask them the question, have you thought about the cloud? It's like, absolutely not, no way. Sure, sure. Mm. Ah, right. Um, you see, metered entertainment and AI are actually a nice marriage. Um, actually, I was in Europe a couple of weeks ago at a conference, and there was a presentation from Reuters. And Reuters has got so much content The example that was given is, I think it was Cape Town. It was certainly in South Africa, and they're moving office, and they've got cupboards and metal cupboard after metal cupboard full of like videotapes, not data tapes, videotapes, and they don't want to lose it. And when they were drilling down, they had some amazing footage, fantastic stuff, really historically important. So they're converting all of it. Now, what they have is on the videotape, they have maybe 6 words, and that tells them what's there. So there you've got an archive, and you just don't know what it is, and it's going to be all sorts of diverse content. So using AI to be able to search for that is like the trend as far as we're concerned, and it's an area which we're going fast into. So you want to be able to, first of all, you need to orchestrate restoring that content in a sensible way. If it were in the cloud and it were, say, on a glacier or whatever, you want to be able to be restoring that in a way that isn't going to incur extraordinarily high fees. Or if it's on tape, you want to be able to take the content in tape order and so on. So there's orchestration of that. You then need to feed it into an AI engine that is going to be able to do the likes of speech to text, facial recognition, scene recognition, logo recognition, etc., etc. And so being able to pull that high-res content back, pass it to that AI engine, and then get the metadata, and that metadata then allows you to search. And when you're doing this on a petabyte scale, it needs to be well optimized.
It does. The other thing also I'm hearing is what folks will do is they're going through that same process, but in the middle they do a transcode to proxy.
Oh, sure.
So it's a very
Sure. Oh, sure.
thin thing to
Sure.
put in the cloud. Yeah.
Um,
Because
well,
they don't want to. A lot of times, folks are using the cloud to allow them to gain those AI insights, and they can do that with a proxy file, which is this
well,
big compared to this big.
right. But what we're also finding is that if you do that with the original high res, you get a much higher quality. So just imagine facial recognition. You've got 20 people in the scene. If you've got a low res proxy, you're not going to get it. So there are two schools there. So I agree with you, but not always. Sometimes you need that high res content too.
Yeah, it's content dependent.
Yeah.
And the other thing also, I've heard a lot of is, say you've got an entire library living on D2. Who has D2 decks any longer? I know the archive people do. I know lots of people living in that space, but you got to get that stuff out quickly because a couple of years ago I heard that there's only a certain amount of videotape head hours remaining to get content onto
Yep.
or out of those tapes, and
Yep.
after that point, that's it. They're just abandoned, and no one can get anything out of them.
Yeah. Yeah. So even though it's like a legacy issue, this is growing as a business because more and more organizations are realizing that they've got this content that is going to disappear if they don't do something about it, and they realize how valuable it is.
Yep, and some content is just valuable in and of itself for what it was originally, and there's a lot of content out there that it was discarded. It was, as what people would say, oh, it's on the cutting room floor. If you got a reality TV show that shot 5,000 hours of shoot to 1 hour worth or 42 minutes worth of show, there's a lot of stuff that no one ever saw, and that's still available. And in theory, you could take all of that and craft that into entirely new stories
Yeah.
about these reality characters from
Yeah.
years ago that you
Yeah.
would have never had insight into.
Yeah, I don't know whether you know, Jeff, but we have a joint installation in Europe. It's RTV Slovenia. And RTV Slovenia, so Slovenia, small European country, and the audio video archive, the biggest by far, is the one like nationalized TV station, RTV Slovenia. So they're using our joint product, XenData and Qualstar, in their production area. Great. But they're also have this massive project called Mediateca, and they are taking all of the audio from the RT, I guess it was not RT, it was just R then, it wasn't T, the R Slovenia radio station from 1920 something. And they have basically taken these magnetic reels and they've converted all of that. That's they wanted to have fast access to it, so they've got 300 or 400 terabytes of disk, all backed up by tape. All of their videotapes, they've converted all of those, and that is many, many petabytes. And they're now going back to film. And they have little bunches of films, and they're converting. They've probably got another 10 years to go. But it's like national heritage. It is the record for the country. And that's like an amazing project.
Yep, and the thing is, it resets the life expectancy of what's now the data. A lot of times, we have, the world always thought that, film is a 100-year medium for storage. And then the Universal Archives caught fire, 10, 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And all sorts of tape and film was lost forever.
Yeah.
And the other piece is, I hear about archives that are stored in cardboard boxes on tape less than a mile from the Pacific Ocean. They're probably gone. They're just, mold will have gotten to them.
Yeah.
There are physical factors that get to these things.
Yeah.
So getting them into a digital realm to allow the data to have its new rebirth of its life cycle is perfectly the best thing to do, I think.
Yep, absolutely. Yep.
Excellent. So, Phil, thanks very much for taking the time to talk with us today.
Pleasure, Dave.
Look forward to great future partnerships and products and workflows. So, everyone, I'd love if you could like and subscribe. As we have all sorts of interesting things coming up on All Roads Lead to Archive. And just a shout out, thanks to Avid Technology for providing the editorial platform that we use. Hope everyone enjoyed today and look forward to seeing more.